I've noticed in the past a lot of people are getting advice from other photographers and they're telling them to use f-stop numbers that are a little bit too high in my opinion, or maybe even a lot too high, meaning f8, f11. So we're going to jump in here, and the main material we're going to look at today is this depth of field calculator, and I've already set everything up so we don't need to go through much and fumble around. And I have a little ruler here. Hopefully you'll be able to see me down there in the little corner down there. So we'll talk about this, and the first one I have set up here, I want to concentrate firstly, because most people are shooting crop sensors for real estate photography, or they're shooting full frame. Okay, so I want to really sort of concentrate the conversation on those two to start with. And stay tuned, by the way, because we're going to jump right into what's best for real estate photography after this. What's the best system to shoot for real estate photography? So stay tuned for that too. It's going to be another live video just separately. So here we have, if you can see that, what I have in here in this depth of field calculator, let me get a little, is I put in a D7000. So that's just a crop sensor. We're all sure that's a crop sensor. Okay, so all you got to do is get that in there. The depth of field calculator needs to know how big your sensor is to calculate the depth of field. Okay, and I ended up choosing this number for the focal length because I personally shoot at that number a lot. If you watch some of my videos on YouTube, what I like to do is shoot as wide as my lens can possibly go, and if I need to get a little bit tighter, I just crop in from the top for my interiors. I might do it from the bottom for my exteriors. That's going to eliminate the ground for my exteriors. For my interiors, I'm going to eliminate the ceiling. Okay, so I like to shoot wide, and the widest focal length my personal lens, a Tokina 11-16, is 11 millimeters. So that's why I put that in there. You guys might have a 10 millimeter lens. You might want to put that in there. Okay, you might have a 12. You go ahead and plug that in there. I encourage you to do this exercise yourself. I picked an f-stop in this case of f5.6, and that's what I shoot at for 98% of my images. And you know, we could put in f8, f11 and all that, but I don't think we need to. I think we just need to go and make the point with these numbers here. And I put a subject distance, and I think this is really common. If you were to sort of fall down in front of your camera, I'm about 6 feet tall. We usually, maybe 6 feet is a little bit too close, so we want to go a little bit further than that for our average real estate photo. So I went into the 10-foot range, maybe 8 to 10 to 12 feet, somewhere in there. For a living room though, our subject distance, I think is going to be about 10 feet. Okay, and as you can see, the numbers are all over here, and the one I really want to key in on is the near limit, and so that's coming in at 2.6 feet. So I'm just going to say 2.5 feet. Don't, you know, I'm going to go ahead and get these in here. And I'm not sure what you guys can see exactly if it's coming off, but oh well. So I'm at 2 so that's 24. So we're going to be at 30 inches at 2 point. I'll go a little over 30 inches. So as I look at this, if you can see that, I know this isn't ideal the way my webcam is. You can't see everything, but as I look at this, maybe it's about, let's see, it's about as long as my arm. It's about, you know, you're getting an idea. But as I look at this, just if my camera was right here, this is a really comfortable distance to me, 2.5 feet. It's very comfortable, all right? I think getting a foot longer or so to 3.5 feet is really starting to get borderline, if not too far. So that minimum focus distance right there is 2.6 feet, and we're at 5.6. That's great. Anything, if you're ever really close to something, closer than 2.6 feet, and say a bathroom with your crop sensor, which we have here, it's maybe going to be a little faucet. We're shooting real estate photography, everyone. We don't necessarily need to have everything in perfect focus. So you might not feel that way about that, but the thing is, my opinion is, if you're monkeying with your focus from each shot to the next, you're more likely to mess up a really important shot. So I personally recommend people leave their focus again at this about 8 to 10 foot mark all day, manually focus and just leave it there. So the main point again there is we're getting that 2.5 or so foot focus, near focus distance with this particular circles of confusion, which all this means is how, I guess a circle of confusion is how the tolerance you're giving that. So you could want something crisper and your circle of confusion would be smaller, but this is the default level they give us with this calculator, so I think that's fine. We don't need to think about that too much. Okay, so 2.6 feet, and I think that's great. So we are going to jump right over into full frame, and I've put all the equivalent settings, okay, and I'll go through that a little bit. So we're going to jump over to full frame now, and if you can see that we have a full frame sensor. And actually, this was a little bit of a mistake, so this is what happens in these live videos sometimes. So wait, was it? No, 11, so that would be half of 11. So I want to put 12 in here, all right? So that was a little bit of a mistake, everyone. So 12, should have had that down. So we're actually getting, let me just do that again. This is, I do shoot at 11. Actually, let's not start over. Let's go back and change the other one, okay? I'd rather do it that way because we already talked about that, okay? So we're just going to change this one to, hopefully I can do this math. So it would be 5.5 plus 11, so that would be 16.5. So that would be the equivalent. Okay, so that was a little fumble there, but everything I said about the crop sensor was correct. We're leaving everything. We're going to now jump over to the full frame sensor, and everything's equivalent. Okay, so we got a full frame sensor in here. The crop factor is 1.5. So what we did with the focal length is we took 11, we multiplied it by 0.5, and we got 5.5. So we added that to the 11. Okay, and we got 16.5. Okay, so everything, if you're not following, everything's equal. Okay, the focus isn't the aperture. Okay, little fumble there, but we went from our 2.6, which was correct. We saw that earlier. Our 2.6. I was right in here at 30 inches, so all that still applies, and we're jumping over here, and we're getting to 3.46 now, and I'm going to do this. So here's the 2.5 that we had for the crop, 3.46. I'm just going to go to 3.5, so 36 plus 6 is going to be 42. Now this is starting, it's making me feel uncomfortable, and in fact I would say even at about 3 feet I would start to feel uncomfortable. So let me get that back. I lost it. So it was 36 plus 6, so 42, right? Yeah, 3 feet. I'm starting to feel uncomfortable now at this 3.5 or 3.46 is the real, so I will give it that little half an inch or whatever that would be. Yeah, I'm just looking at this, trying to imagine my camera is right at my face and I'm in a little bathroom, and yeah, that is pretty far out there. That could be half or even two-thirds of the bathroom right there at the 3.5 foot mark. So 3 feet, 3.5 feet definitely makes me feel uncomfortable. All right, I would not shoot, if I had a full frame camera, I would not run around and shoot things at f5.6. I just wouldn't do it. It's a little bit too long, as you saw there, 3.5 feet. It would just be too long. That makes me feel uncomfortable, definitely, that length, seeing that length there. All right, so what do we get out of all this? What we get, which is we're going to cover in our next video, stay tuned for that one, where I'm going to make a separate video, but I really think that the crop system is sort of ideal when it comes to these F numbers and what you're able to get. Even we're going to talk about micro four thirds at the end, but yeah, it's just giving you that extra that you need. And keep in mind, we had to move this to say f8. We're at the full frame sensor now. We're having to move this to f8 to get something I'm reasonably comfortable at. So f8, we're at 2.7 feet. It's all right. I like that. I would feel comfortable with that, all right, on a full frame sensor. It's right. It's sort of on the borderline, but I like it, just in terms of, so that would be, you know, right in here somewhere. 2.7 feet. I'm feeling comfortable here, all right? So we have to move up to f8 on the full frame to go ahead and shoot at the same aperture all day. And what that's going to do is, you're losing an entire stop of light. An entire stop. That's huge. I mean, that's dope. You're losing half your light, okay? You just got half as powerful. So over here on the crop system, doing great. I'm at 5.6. I feel comfortable. 2.6 feet. Everything's doing great. Jumping over to full frame, I'm having to stop down to f8, and it's making me feel really uncomfortable. So take home point here, I'd say, first of all, depending on what system you're shooting, if you're shooting crop, I'd say 5.6 is a great aperture. I'm not sure why out there in the world it gets sort of knocked into people's head to shoot f8, f11. On a crop system, I don't think you have to. I think 5.6 is a great place to be, okay? If you're on a full frame sensor, I think f8 is a really good place to be. And I'd say the only exception to this is if you have a lens on a crop sensor and really you can tell the really nicest sweet spot is at f8. I think that advantage outweighs, so I would probably go ahead and go to f8 on a crop sensor if I had a lens that was better at f8. But my lens happens to be better, my token happens to be better at about 5.6, and you'll find that's true on a lot of nicer glass. Glass that's faster, it tends to be clear at lower f-stops. Okay, so that's the case here. 5.6, it's right at its sweet spot. So we're getting everything. We're getting the more light. We're getting, we're getting that depth of field that we need. We're really comfortable in that 2.5 foot range. We got it all there. Okay, and I know some of you out there, I'll go ahead and move this over. I know some of you out there, I feel like crop sensor was really the winner here, okay? And this is a very important thing. We're not really gaining anything when we go to full frame, for real estate photography. So crop is the winner here, and this is a very big deal to get twice the light, okay, out of our flashes because we're using that lower f-stop. So let's jump over to micro four thirds because I know some of you out there are interested in that. I put in a camera that I knew was micro four thirds. Let me see if I can. So we had our full frame at 16.5, so I have to go half of that. So it'd be 8.25. I don't even think they're going to have that in there. So 8.25. Let's see. We got close enough. Let me just put 8.3. Okay, so we got that equivalent on the micro four thirds. We got the same f-stop in there. Everything's the same, and we're coming in at 2.1. Okay, so that's versus 2.6 on the crop. Okay, so 2.1 is looking really nice to me. I mean, that's making me feel really very comfortable. So what's the take-home point? Should you shoot micro four thirds? And I personally recommend crop sensors as a really nice sort of sweet spot, and the bodies tend to be bigger, which I don't think hurts us in real estate photography because we're able to go outside and handhold our exteriors, and we have something we can hold on to. A lot of these cameras, these micro four thirds, are a little bit smaller, but a lot of them are larger too, like the GH5 and stuff. So either way, I would say my order of preference would be crop number one, I'd recommend, and then I'd say micro four thirds is probably second, and then I'd say full frame is last. And the ironic thing is most people shoot on full frame, so it's crazy, huh? So you're getting a really more expensive system when you buy into full frame, and you're not really getting anything. Okay, so I hope that was useful in convincing people that maybe if you're not shooting full frame, that maybe you can drop down in your aperture. Go ahead and leave a comment, tell me what you think, and I will stick around. I'm going to do that, a very related video next, okay, to what system I think is best, even though we just went over that, but it's okay.